Hey everybody, I wanted to share a few quick little DIY projects I made out here in the garden to help me organize my tools and things. First off is this one, nice little box here that has room for my trowels beneath. And up inside I have my reusable Velcro ties that I use on tomatoes and things. And I have a nice place to put all of my little trimmers and my loppers. Additionally, on the outside of the fence, I've given myself a place to hang some shovels and larger tools. And a good place to put my watering can. Okay, so we're going to go ahead now and get to the build, but before we do, I do want to mention that Hychika has gone ahead and sent over this mini circular saw, model CS85C, for me to try out. I'm going to use this saw during the build, and then afterwards I'll talk about the specifications and my thoughts about it. So let's put this thing to use and see how it does. Nice square line on there. Let's check the laser out. I will put the saw on there. All right, I can see with the saw tight up against this, we're diverging by about a 1/16, maybe a 32nd of an inch. So the laser is not perfectly square. So hopefully there's a way that I can get in there and adjust that and give it a little bit of a rotation to square it up. For now, I'm just gonna not pay attention, not use the laser itself. I'll just use a T-square till I have time to try and square that thing up. Good enough. Clamp on that. Finally, these guys have a home. Put some clippers in there in a little bit. Perfect. Okay, I'm really super happy with how these projects came out. So now it's time to go into the shop. We'll take a look at this saw, look at the specifications, and all the things that come along in the box with it. Okay, and here's a quick look at the box. Hychika model CS85C miniature circular saw, and this is a 120 volt corded model. These guys open up. Looks like there are other tools. It does come in a nice little carrying bag. Okay, now I've got the saw out of the bag. Let's take a look at the accessories that came with it. We have a diamond blade for ceramic. This here says soft wood and soft metal. I noticed it doesn't have big carbide teeth, so definitely for softer woods. Of a rip fence. Of a hose for dust collection. It attaches to a port back here on this side with this end of the hose, and that end should go right into a standard small vacuum hose. And then last but not least, they gave us a couple of batteries because this does have a laser on the front. So it's a couple of replacement batteries for the laser. Okay, I've never used a modern saw like this. I've only used one that was 10 or 15 years old. This one's a little bit different than what I'm used to. Down on the bottom, we have a slide trigger. Up on top, this button here releases the shoe so that you can actually cut. And this here is your depth gauge in millimeters. 25 millimeters is basically about an inch, more or less. So you have about a 1 inch depth of cut. One thing I did notice is we have 2 notches on the shoe. One here, one here. And when this foot is totally pushed down, the beginning and edge of the blade basically line up with those notches. So if you were going to do a plunge cut, these 2 notches will basically show you where the blade is going to end up after you plunge it down. Okay, let's take a quick look at the rip fence. It just slides in this slot right here. If you look here, we can go down to just about, basically a 0 inch rip or larger. So as small as you want. And if we put it in from this side of the shoe, get just about an inch rip on this side. Okay, last but not least, let's turn on the laser. And there we go. As you can see, it's off to the side of the notch a bit, which should hopefully account for the kerf of the saw blade. Okay, so what are my first impressions of the saw? The guard is a little weird to get used to. I have no idea if this is a standard type of guard for miniature circular saws. I've never used one before. I've only used this full-size one, but it did take a few minutes, first couple cuts to kind of get used to it. It's a little bit weird. As far as power goes, I was cutting through rough sawn wood the whole time, which is pretty much exactly an inch thick, which is basically the full depth that this saw is capable of, and it didn't seem to have any problem, except for when I accidentally twisted the saw a little bit and bound it up, but that was actually my fault. But power-wise, it seems to do just great for the depth of cut that you can do. I mean, obviously, this saw is limited on what you're going to do with it for projects with that 1 inch depth of cut. You can't be cutting 2x4s or anything because it would just be a little bit too big. But for carrying around, cutting a little bit of plywood, so pretty handy tool. I think for its size, it is perfectly well powered, and I think it's going to come to a lot of really good use here in the shop. So thanks for watching today. Make sure you check out their website, and links for this tool in specific are down in the comments below.